Hello everyone, welcome to MzansiOz Diary. My name is Connie. If you're new here, you're very much welcome. Yes, today's video is just a viral video that's been circulating of Brigitte Macron and the wife of the President Emmanuel Macron. Yeah, touching his face as they step off a plane in Vietnam. They were in Vietnam, Hanoi. Yeah, the moment really raised a lot of concern, outrage for some, conspiracy theories for others. Well, was it playful? Was it disrespectful? Or was it something much deeper? Our society reacting to a power dynamic that it doesn't quite understand. Are we reacting to a power dynamic that we all don't understand? Well, let's talk about the gap. The Brigitte, she's about 25 years older than Emmanuel Macron. It's not like there's anything wrong with that. But the problem that I have with this relationship, is not an age, is that how they met. That's I have a problem with that. I mean, he was 14. I mean, according to the research done by Candace Owens and a journalist from France, he was 14. He was just 14. Okay. And she was his teacher. Yeah. See, this story, in France, they really play the story as fascinating, but very unsettling. That problem, how they met, is my biggest problem with this relationship. There was so much power imbalance in the relationship from the beginning. If he was a really grown up man and very developed man, that wouldn't be a problem. I wouldn't be having any concern. My concern is just the age, how they met, the age at which Macron was when allegedly fell in love with her. Yeah. Anyway, the age is not a big deal because we know there's a lot of men that have married much younger women. We don't get people really being mad about it. It's just how they met, the age at which they met. Leonardo DiCaprio, no problem. So with Emmanuel Macron, there's a scandal. The scandal is around that fact that maybe because of her age, that she's much older than him, and the age at which they met. So obviously, some people are calling this a physical abuse because of how it looked, on camera. And others say it's humiliating for the president, which I agree, very much humiliating to see his face when he realized that he was on camera. But another issue here is that if the genders were reversed, that Emmanuel Macron was Brigitte, who was much older, doing this to his younger wife, would the same gesture have sparked what conversation? Would this have sparked? I think it should have the similar conversation. This looks like a physical abuse. We're not condoning that here, but there's physical assertiveness of a woman towards a man who is much younger than her, and when they met, there was already power imbalances. Well, there's also another issue you can look at that, there's a spoken belief that, physical assertiveness is only acceptable when it's from a man, you know. When a woman is firm or even playful, it is read as aggressive or emasculating. But that one, yeah, unless people don't have good vision, unless what we were shown is an AI manipulated video, but it's from a reputable news. So they were all waiting for him. So it's not something like, it was manipulated by AI. I mean, the first response from the pilots was that they blame Russia first, and then later realized that, they couldn't. Then they started going on with the narrative that they were playful. I mean, yeah. So now they've been mocking this thing. So So obviously, Candace Owens was back again talking about her conspiracy.
Gets opened, and then suddenly his face is being smushed. Okay, let's slow this down because there are some things that I think are being missed by the public. First and foremost, I just want to shout out the real victim in all of this, okay? Let's just watch the beginning of this clip. The pilot that comes out and opens the door, he is the unsung victim in this because he is going to be so fired. I mean, just the wrong timing there. I just imagine that when he gets back and this trip is over, for no reason at all, Brigitte is going to lose it because Brigitte is a maniac behind the scenes. These are the facts. I am telling you, Brigitte is losing his mind. I know this to be an absolute fact. I'll tell you more about that later. But then what we see here, and this is what people need to get right, because what was being reported as a slap or a smack is actually incorrect. This was a double-handed shove to Macron's face. We're going to slow that down so you can see it. Take a look at this. That is two arms. You see that frozen? Two arms in the shot. You can see Brigitte's left arm and right arm right on his face. And when you get closer to it, you can even see that Brigitte is wearing some sort of a watch or a piece of jewelry. And I just went, okay, that's just like dudes beginning to fight, because a couple of things there. Listen, I went to public school, saw a lot of these fights. When a woman is hitting a man, it's usually one hand, a smack, because a woman's not really fearful in most circumstances that the guy's going to hit her back. Just like a little whack across the face. And, maybe it's a mom to her son, smack, and then it's kind of over because she's just being over emotional and hitting him. When men fight, there tends to be an aggressive shove that happens first, right? Shove to the face like that, just to be super disrespectful. And that's exactly what happened here, okay? I am telling you, Brigitte was in some form, was very clearly irate, and gave him the full shove. Now, what we're going to slow down now, right now, is Macron's reaction to this, because I think it should be studied in colleges and universities across the world, because it's giving fight or flight, the fight or flight response that we have as humans, a new meaning. I mean, this could be called fight on flight response. And it's incredible to actually think about the physiological changes that must be going through Emmanuel Macron's body and mind during this moment, okay? At first, he gets double shoved. You're going to have that human response. Like, am I going to fight this person? Am I going to fight this grown man? He perceives this physical threat. And before he can even process that, he then perceives the bigger threat, which is the media, the cameras that are flashing outside. Could you imagine his heart rate in this moment? Look at him. Look at his face. Genuinely, he looks like he pooped his pants. That's the only way I can describe his face for listening to the podcast. He looks like a toddler did an uh-oh in a very public space, maybe at Six Flags. Disney World and realizes things have gone terribly wrong. Okay, and I recognize this face. You recognize this face. I'll say it. This is very clearly the face from the Cowardly Lion, Wizard of Oz, when he gets smacked right across the face from Dorothy because he's acting all tough, but then he scoops up Toto. Let's just run the clip to jog your memory here. Shame on you! What did you do that for? That's the exact same face Emmanuel Macron is making there, okay? And then what happens next, and this next portion is what makes the Élysée Palace response to it the most absurd response I've ever heard. Brigitte is very clearly not able to pull it together. Brigitte is angry. Brigitte is big mad.
I mean, it's not true because she hasn't admitted it that she's not a woman. But why would she hide anyway if she was not a woman? I mean, this is France we're talking about. I mean, they're very old. It's not a conservative society where you can hide things like that. But why are you questioning it? Why are they questioning it either? Why is it? Because the thing is, when you attack her having this transphobia, it's not only attacking her, has a broader fear amongst other women who don't look or act in the way patriotic society expects, So most people may call that unnatural. Even, now the analysis of how the slap, if it does not look like a female slap, looks like a manhandle slap. I mean, seriously. But you see how this whole thing this has triggers a lot of stuff now about being her not being a biological female, which is none of their problem. It's not your problem. It's none of your issue. Someone is not biological female, it's not married to you. But it's very fascinating that this whole thing now it has raised a lot of these issues around Emmanuel Macron. Yeah. Really, the video isn't about a tap on the face. It's really about that discomfort with changing gender roles, really, with women who lead, and with men who aren't dominant. You know what I mean? Because he's not a dominant man. But society looks at it as weird, not acceptable. And also with relationship that challenge the mold. Like I said, my only concern is how it started, the age at which it started. Just imagine a 14-year-old boy. Oh my God. I'll probably be like I'll be a lion. If I hear my son is dating a 39-year-old teacher, oh hell no. Hell to the no. Okay? Hell no. Yeah. But I think we need to understand that culture is also wrestling with the idea that power doesn't always come in a shape or gender that we all expect it to be. Yeah. Yeah, comment below, guys. What do you think about this? Yeah, it's still violence. No matter how you look at it, still violence. Well, we saw, I mean, video can be misleading. Still violence. And also, the age at which they all started dating. And we need to foster that inclusivity in our society. Okay, so if you comment here, please don't comment about your transphobia stuff. We're going to delete it, okay? So I know people, when you talk about this subject like this, they start attacking and then it becomes about attacking the other group in the society. And I don't want to be that person who's perpetuating the myth of transphobia. But I do believe that if she was transgender woman, she would no problem to say it. And even if she didn't want to disclose it, it's her choice. It is her choice. All right? Her choice. Okay, we need to foster that inclusivity. But the issue I have with this relationship is when the age is the problem with me. And it's already started with the power imbalances because she was a teacher, was teaching him. Imagine if this was the other way around, even with that, even if really imagine if that was a male teacher and Macron was a female, Brigitte was a male. It was the other way around, even when they met. You see, I think, I think this is just highlighted the fact that men could also be victims of abuse. If this is true, what we saw, Emmanuel Macron could be a victim, being in an abusive relationship, doing that. Huh? Seriously? Yeah, no. Another thing also you have to be aware as well is that Donald Trump is also older. Look at his wife. People are not commenting about his wife, Donald Trump's wife. There's still a huge age difference there. All right? So we're not commenting about Donald Trump's wife being so young. If Donald Trump were to do that to Melania, because there's that power in their age difference, we'll be all outraged about it. All right? And we should also here be outraged with the physical attack that we saw on screen. It doesn't matter. She's really wrong for doing this, and because of the power imbalance, also how they met. Yeah, it makes me feel a bit concerned about how possible this man could be in a relationship that's very much controlling and abusive. He needs to be rescued. All right, need to be supported because this has a huge implication for him and other people who care about him and their relationship and the disappointment. At least Macron sort of made the saga of this South African president and Donald Trump a little bit to go away faster. We're not talking about them, Now we're talking about Emmanuel Macron, another leader, being embarrassed by his wife.
Brigitte is big mad. They now got to pull it together. Pilot, so fired, opened the door unexpectedly. And Macron, ever the actor, we told you how they got together. Oh, yes, he was so amazing on stage. I just couldn't resist this little boy. Ugh. Ugh. Disgusting. But ever the actor, Macron pulls it together pretty quickly, and he's like, I just got to pull it together in front of the cameras. I've been doing this since I was a little boy. And you see right there, he puts out his arm, and Brigitte refuses it. Okay? Brigitte refuses it. Brigitte's like, nope, cannot pull it together. I'm still big mad. Okay? And I just want to say, by the way, is it me or is Brigitte looking more and more manly every time we see him? It's just incredible. I feel like ever since I've done the series, the wig is just so bad, but I don't want to get lost on that. Okay? Let's stay focused here. This last portion is amazing because I feel that it's Macron, once they fully descended down the steps and you pay attention, I feel Macron is practicing whatever it is that he learned in anger management, because his fist, look at that fist, the left fist, he's just, trying to hold everything in. An anger management technique, just bulk up your fist, hold it all together. And we know that fist, obviously. That's the Arthur fist. We've all seen it. He punched DW. That's his fist, a meme that's now gone viral. And that's what Emmanuel Macron is doing right there. Just trying to manage his anger and obviously having recognized that this has been captured. Okay. Now, as if this couldn't be the most crazy thing that's happened in a very long time, and it's not, by the way, in a long line of things that happened in this relationship, it's not even close to the craziest thing that's happened. But what was then so stunning was we're watching a sitting president of the Western world, right, get pummeled by his husband. Then the Élysée Palace just moves to completely lie about the thing that we just watched. Their reaction to this was essentially a lie that was so bad that not even the mainstream media fully bit on it, right? They kind of, some of them tried to, other ones are just outright mocking them. I'll show you both of those reactions. But what happened at first, I kid you not, when a journalist contacted the Élysée Palace, and I'm assuming at this point they had not seen the footage, the Élysée Palace responded, and they said, of all things, that it was Russia's fault. They just went ahead and blamed Russia right off the top. That seems to be a thing that everybody does. Russia, Russia, Russia. Russia's bad all the time. Putin, Putin. Stay focused on Putin. I kid you not, the official statement from the Élysée Palace was, quote, "These are images generated by artificial intelligence being boosted by Russians." It's amazing. That is amazing. I have to imagine somewhere in the world, Putin is laughing. He just is like, what are we doing now? Why would we spend our time doing that? For what reason would we pretend that, why would we generate an image of Brigitte Macron pushing the face, shoving the face of Emmanuel Macron in our spare time? Like we don't have enough going on. And the journalist who's on the phone with the Élysée Palace immediately calls them out on their BS. He says, "You are lying, because these images were just captured from the Associated Press." And at that moment, they realized they had made a massive blunder, okay? Oh my gosh, so this is the Élysée Palace is their White House. They've realized we've made a big mistake. They completely backtrack and immediately get to work changing their story. And then came a statement from Macron's office. Macron's office said this, quote, "It was a moment where the president and his wife were decompressing one last time before the start of the trip by horsing around. It's a moment of complicity. It was all that was needed to give ammunition to the conspiracy theorists." There is just so much happening in that statement. Genuinely, I feel limited here. I don't have the vocabulary that is extensive enough to underscore how disastrously stupid this response is. I'm left wondering whether or not they hired Blake and Ryan's PR team, if they went out and said, "Wow, that was so bad. Are you guys available to do some of our PR?" First off, where do we begin with that statement? Let's begin by defining what a moment of complicity is. What is that? They were complicit with one another, that they would engage in this beating. What does that actually mean? And what exactly are they decompressing from? Okay, so they were just on this very long flight from Paris all the way to Hanoi, one pit stop in between. They're on this long flight, and you're going to tell me they decided at the end of it to horse around? I want to be clear. Let me make something very clear to you. I've been on a private plane before, and what happens when that flight ends is the exact same thing that happens when a public flight ends. You are required to put on your seatbelt, be seated, because the plane is coming in for landing. You're not allowed to take that seatbelt off until the plane has finished taxiing. So what they want us to believe is after a very long flight, and Mark, you're going to have to remind me, how many hours is the flight from Paris to Hanoi? You could tell me this in my ear.
It was a 12-hour flight, and they took a 3-hour stop in Abu.
Yeah. Anyway, let us know before if you think it was playful. Do you think this is was playful, as they say? So what do you see when you watch the video? Do you think they're playful? A moment of disrespect? A moment of normal human interaction filtered through years of social conditioning? Let's keep the conversation going. Drop a comment. like, subscribe if you believe we need to talk more about how we perceive the power, the gender, and equality, especially in the public eye. Let's talk about it from that perspective, all right? Let's not propagate conspiracy theory that we don't know about, all right? All right, thank you guys. Please consider subscribing. Until next time, see ya.